Last year on Selection Sunday, Drew Brees retired. This year on Selection Sunday, Tom Brady unretired. He is back. He will play his 23rd season as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady will not retire, will return to Tampa. Here is Brady's tweet. These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field and not in the stands. That time will come, but it is not now. I love my teammates and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa. Unfinished business, LFG. OMG. Pete Prisco is here. All right. What is your level of surprise that is what we're reading and we're doing it today?
Well, I'm a little surprised, but when you read the tea leaves, it didn't sound like it was the decision he was going to make. I think it was a decision made by his family, and specifically, I think, his wife. They wanted him to retire and spend more time with the family. And so, just like everybody else in the business, when you have a lot of time away, you're missed. When you have a lot of time around, they don't really miss you as much. And so I think in the end, they realized he can still play at a high level. He wants to play at a high level, so why not allow him to go play another year at least with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? So I don't ever think this was a decision he would have made. I think it was a decision mandated by the family, and in the end, I think ultimately they decided, go do what you want to do.
And for people who are following this, he is 100% playing for Tampa or not at all next year. Is that correct?
That is correct, unless they wanted to trade him. But why would you trade him? He played at an MVP level last year. He will be back with the Bucs, and what it does for the Bucs, it makes them a contender again. They're in a bad division. They will win that division. And when you look at the quarterback situations of the other teams, Matt Ryan's an established guy, but that team is a little ways off. Carolina's a mess right now. New Orleans doesn't have a quarterback. So Tampa Bay, the clear favorite in that division. And not only that, they're one of the favorites in the NFC.
When you say one of, would you not make them the favorite in the NFC, or would it be Green Bay? I know the Rams won the Super Bowl this past year, but they had to go on the road. They did get some breaks, that kind of thing. I don't know who's going to play quarterback in San Francisco. Do we feel like, considering Russ has been traded out of there, that the two quarterbacks, it's Rodgers, it's Brady, and then there's a drop, and that those two guys may have one more? It's those two teams to go to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think on the surface, they're the two favorites. But the Rams are right there with them. I mean, depending on what they do and who comes back, I think the Rams are going to be in the mix. I mean, they still have their stars, and stars win championships. We saw that last year. Aaron Donald is still there. Jalen Ramsey is still there. Cooper Kupp. And Matt Stafford played at a high level particularly in the postseason. So they still have their stars. They'll be in the mix. But I always, defer to the star quarterback, the real star quarterbacks, and that's Brady and Rodgers. And so for that reason, I think they're the two favorites in the NFC.
Are you surprised at all that it happens today? It is Selection Sunday, but, look, the NFL always is obviously king, and they don't care about what anybody else's schedule is. It's before the draft, which you wanted to do, and to let your team know that you're going to play before then. Is there any level of surprise that it's today?
No, it's also before the start of free agency. And if there were rumblings that they were investigating other quarterbacks, including Baker Mayfield, as well as, Deshaun Watson, whether they were going to get into that mix or not, who knows. But they were investigating other quarterbacks, and it's only fair that he makes a decision now. So if they went out and made a deal to go get one of those guys, then what happens when he decides to come back? So I think it was the right thing to do for Tom Brady. I think it was the right thing to do from a business standpoint for Tampa Bay to figure out who their quarterback was going to be. And all that lip service about Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask that Bruce Arians came on our set at the Combine and Jason Light was saying, that's all that was lip service. They knew they needed to upgrade the quarterback position. Getting Tom Brady back certainly does that, but they investigated the other guys.
All right, what about this domino, which is a huge one? What other dominoes may fall as a result? They had an offensive line retirement. Rob Gronkowski, they were talking about, is he going to go back to Buffalo? Does that mean now he comes back to Tampa? What other dominoes fall from this?
Well, I think Gronk is going to go back and play for Tampa Bay. As long as Tom Brady's throwing the football, I think that's a priority for him. He is a unrestricted free agent, so he can sign anywhere. But I think for him, it's pretty much he goes wherever Tom Brady goes. Now they have to try and figure out what they're going to do with Ryan Jensen. Their starting center is an unrestricted free agent. Their starting right guard, Alex Kappa, is an unrestricted free agent. They have guys on defense, Jason Pierre-Paul, also in that mix as well. Carlton Davis, their corner, will be leaving because they won't be able to keep him. But they're going to keep the nucleus together. I mean, when you look at it, Chris Godwin coming off the ACL, they tagged him. He'll be back. Mike Evans will be back. They have to figure out the running back game because Leonard Fournette is an unrestricted free agent. But this is still a talented, good football team. And I think they had a lot of injuries on defense last year that kind of played into them not being able to repeat. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be a contender again, and they'll certainly win that division.
All right, Pete Prisco on a wild day where Tom Brady has decided he's going to play next year and play for the Tampa Bay Bucs. Here's a tweet. These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still on the field, not in the stands. That time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates, and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa, unfinished business, LFG. Here it is. Here's the tweet. These past 2 months, I've realized my place is still in the field, not in the stands. That time will come, but it's not now. I love my teammates, and I love my supportive family. They make it all possible. I'm coming back for my 23rd season in Tampa. Unfinished business, LFG. All right, Scott Pioli, 5-time NFL Executive of the Year. He drafted Tom Brady. He knows Tom Brady. They won Super Bowls together, 3 of them, in fact. So knowing him, can you translate the walk away over a month ago and now the walk back in? What does it say to you?
Yeah, Eric, to tell you the truth, when he walked away, I was surprised. I think you and I talked about this, off the record and off air, because he made the decision so quickly. And, Bill Parcells has a lot of great wisdom. And I remember one of the things he talked about often to players near the end of the season or at the end of the season, he would say, listen, the worst time that you can make any decisions about your future is within the next 30 days. Give yourself some time to heal, both physically, mentally, emotionally, because when the season ends, everybody's miserable. Every player, every coach, every GM, every scout, except for one team. So the wisdom in not making an emotional decision when your body is just not feeling good, it surprised me that Tommy went out there and made that decision, but there was also a lot of circumstances around where something leaked out and it just didn't seem normal. So when I saw this today, I was actually on air with NFL Network and the news came in. Truthfully, EK, I wasn't that surprised to see this news break and that he's coming back for another season.
Who's in the inner circle right now with him, right? I mean, look, it's obviously family. He's close. We've seen his parents. He's obviously, Gisele Bündchen is his wife, and she's a famous supermodel. But who else do you think that is, the inner circle that would help weigh such an important decision like this?
Again, with Tommy, it starts with his family, and there's not that many people outside of his immediate family that he shares this kind of information with. Don Yee, his agent, I know was in on this decision. I would bet Steve Dubin, who works with Don Yee and handles a lot of Tommy's marketing stuff, and then a very, very small group of people beyond that. Because again, one of the things that we've all learned in this business is you share important information. Sometimes things will unintentionally or intentionally leak out.
So how long can he do this? Is this and you think this will be a 1-year thing? Is this I'm back until I'm not back anymore? We saw Brett Favre come back and then go back and then come back and then come back. I mean, what when you see this, does this mean it's just this year? Or do you say, hey, this could be for a very long time?
Well, here's what I think, Eric. I think Tommy looks at things in year-to-year segments. And right now, his body feels good, his mind feels good. Let's face it, he was in the running for the MVP. He knows that. He knows that his team is in a division that can compete for a championship. But to me, I think this is going to be an annual, year-to-year decision. It has to be that way. And he will know, again, at the end of the season, he'll need to give himself some more time than he did this year, which, again, I think he learned an important lesson here. But to me, EK, it's going to be a year-to-year decision. It's going to be very interesting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. I think right now, again, I don't want to start controversy, but I see that he's coming back to Tampa. but there's a lot of things to look into right now. He's only going to be making about $10.5 million of new money, so they're going to have to pay the man. If he's going to come back, they're going to have to pay him. They have 20 free agents, over 20 free agents actually, on their roster. Ryan Jensen, who's a really good player. Now, are all these players actually going to come back and take a home team discount? Because they don't have an abundance of cap space. There's a lot of little particulars that still need to be sorted out. And again, I know that he said he's coming back to Tampa. I don't know anything extra, but I would not be at all surprised, Eric, if he comes back to Tampa now, but Tampa isn't the team that he's playing for at the beginning of the season. And I say that not knowing anything. I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just trying to figure out so many moving parts here that don't make sense about him being in Tampa right now.
Wow, we'll continue to watch that as the dominoes will fall from this decision. The biggest and first domino, Tom Brady is back. But what that ultimately means, there's going to be a lot to come. Scott Pioli, great work as always.
There's a lot of chatter and rumblings out there, Coach. If you got a call or a text in 3 weeks saying, hey, it's Tommy, I had a change of heart, would that shock you? Would that surprise you? Would that seem impossible to you right now?
It would shock me, but I'd say, come on back, baby, let's go.
You find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Come on back, baby. Let's go. All right. That's what Bruce Arians saying to Tom Brady. Jason, you were there with Bruce Arians. We saw you at the Combine. You broke this news at the end of January. Your reaction now as Tom Brady pulls off a bracket buster on Selection Sunday.
Yeah. Look, I, like a lot of people, have heard rumblings and chatter, and we mentioned it to BA there a couple weeks ago that maybe he wasn't as stuck in on this as he thought. And maybe, dedicating myself entirely 24/7, 365 to my family, maybe there's a middle ground somewhere. And honestly, I didn't think this is something that would happen this quickly, if it happened at all. But the situation that was caught on film with him and Cristiano Ronaldo at the Man U match, and when Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the few people on the planet who can look him eye to eye, goat to goat, and ask a pointed question like that, are you done? When I saw Brady's reaction to that, I told my wife, I got a feeling, my day might turn. Because for Brady to put that on his own social media, I was like, okay, he's now taking it to another step, because this is in real time. This is someone who he couldn't BS if he wanted to, and he's doing anything but saying I'm done. Again, did I think tonight we would have full clarification? No, but it did lead me to start making some phone calls and start digging. Clearly, he wasn't completely at peace over the last 6 weeks with that decision. He's looking around the rest of the NFC saying, wait a minute, who do we have to beat again to get to the Super Bowl? He's seeing a Bucs team that has been kept intact by and large. And look, they're not going to bring everybody back, but what they've done, to keep Godwin there. Ryan Jensen, after Ali Marpet retired, it became much more of a priority for them to keep center Ryan Jensen. They've made a lot of headway towards that. They've become major players in keeping that top center there. Look, he obviously decided with Giselle that he's got to, there's too much of this in him. He hasn't exhausted the flame just yet. And he feels like this is the best team in the NFC. Why? You're going to tell me we can't get back to a Super Bowl? And once you're there, obviously anything can happen. So what a day to be a Tampa Bay Bucs fan. What a day to be an NFL fan. The league is clearly better for having Tom Brady in it. I hope he still gets to go out on his terms. That's not always guaranteed, and that was part of the mental calculus that led him to step aside in the first place. Is it ever going to be any better than this? I don't want to go out in a hospital room. I don't want to go out on a cart. But that's a team that is as poised as anybody to make noise in the NFC. They have owners who will spend cash over cap, and they're not close to done. They will fill in some holes. Now Gronk all of a sudden probably looks like he might want to come back. They'll find a way to put themselves in position to compete for a Super Bowl.
I'm not surprised sitting here that Tom Brady's coming back. I really not, because I feel like it was an okie doke. Like, hey, people in the media, people within the NFL saying that he was going to retire, And look, you were all over this news, and I asked you in that conversation, do you think he's coming back? And you were determined. You were no questions asked. He's not coming back. But look, we don't know what's inside Tom Brady's head. Look, we're not going to sit here and say, well, we knew exactly what he was thinking. We don't. You and I can't say that when we sit here today on Selection Sunday and he announces that he's coming back out of retirement. But part of me thinks he wanted to control the narrative, that he wanted to be the one out in front of this saying, I'm going to retire. Now he gets out in front of this now saying, hey, I'm coming back. And then when I decide to finally retire, it's going to be me that says it. Do you think that that played a role in this decision?
I'm trying to follow all that. I don't know. I don't think that it really has anything to do with that. And I'm not in his head. All I know is, I know people who are very close to him, and they started to see certain signs in him towards the end of the year that convinced them that he was approaching these games like they were the last of his career, and he was making peace with life without football. Now, you spend some time without football. Again, you see, wait a minute, Russell Wilson's gone. You start looking at the roster churn. Dallas's team's falling apart. You look at that division. Oh, wait, Sean Payton's not going to be in New Orleans anymore? Now, Deshaun Watson might. But, so I think it's that. It's what kind of feedback is he getting from friends and family about the decision? As time goes on, does he find himself pining for, man, I need to get out to California and get with Tom House and start doing my kinesiology and my throwing program and all that? I don't think for any athlete there's no way to know how that decision is going to sit with you. For the GOAT, for someone who's had this historic career, who's eluded Father Time in a way that really I don't know that any other athlete ever has to this degree, I just think people change. But no, I don't think this was a grand ploy that, like, I'm going to make a lot of people think I'm going to retire, including the people I work for, and then I'm going to put them through an awkward 6 weeks, including the combine, and then right before they have to make big decisions at the start of the league year, I'm going to say, I was never retired anyway. I don't think he's that conniving. I don't think it was that. But I do think this is uncharted territory for him. And the part of him that felt like he was going to be most at peace with this clearly wasn't.
Biggest upset of the day, Tom Brady heading back to the NFL for a 23rd season, going to be 45 years old in August. Jason, appreciate the perspective and the insight. Always great stuff there from CBS Sports senior NFL insider Jason La Canfora. Again, this is just absolute bonkers. Tom Brady coming back, three-time MVP, NFL's all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, and completions. His 7 Super Bowl titles are more than any team in NFL history. And now he's coming back to try and win an 8th.
He is back. Most fantasy points. There you go. And again, of course, it depends how you score, right? But you see there, Josh Allen 1, Tom Brady 2. And we showed you the stats, led the NFL in touchdown passes, all-time record for completions. Threw the ball 719 times, threw for over 5,300 yards. That is a guy that you are going to see again on Sundays. All right, out to Vegas. Our professional is Todd Furman. All right, I assume all the odds are down regarding Tampa. Their conference odds, divisions odds, Super Bowl odds, win totals, that kind of thing. What does this do? What do you expect in terms of what Tampa will be? Do you think they'll be the new favorites to win the Super Bowl? I say that Tampa Bay, and what's going on? What's Vegas like right now?
You know, it's interesting because obviously when you have news like this breaks, when you're behind the counter and you're trying to set numbers for the opening of the NCAA tournament, you know it's kind of the Christmas Eve leading up to things, with it being some of the most profitable days for sportsbook on the opening Thursday and Friday. It does give bettors an opportunity who are scouring social media maybe to slip one by the goalie and get down an advantageous price. Last check, the Bucs were the favorite in the NFC South at Caesars, but the reality of it is they'll go from slight favorites to overwhelming favorites given the uncertainty around the other trio of teams. We know the Saints, they're going through a transformation, both from a personnel standpoint on the field and Dennis Allen taking over as head coach. We're trying to figure out what Matt Rule's team will look like and how serious the overtures are being made to bring in Deshaun Watson and bolster the quarterback position. And the Atlanta Falcons, well, plain and simple, they're still the Atlanta Falcons. But as far as the absence of marquee quarterbacks in the NFC, you can understand why Tom went, you know what, maybe I still have a little bit left in the tank. I think what'll happen as a result, though, a team like the Green Bay Packers, buoyed by the return of Aaron Rodgers, who went from upwards of 15-1 as low as 8 you're going to see that particular price tag drift out, and Tampa is going to assert themselves as one of the teams to beat yet again in the NFC with TB12 under center.
Was there any concern that when he retired, because it wasn't so emphatic, that maybe he might unretire? Was there anybody who ran to the window and sort of took the Bucs as a long shot Super Bowl odd? I mean, how far did they drop down at the lowest point, and before obviously they had to pull him off, given the news today?
Yeah, the bottom didn't fall out of that number for just the reasons that you mentioned, EK. I mean, I saw some books take a very conservative approach and hang the Bucs, keep them in that 20 to 25 range. Other shops drop them as far as 50 to 1. And of course, we talk about it all the time. The key to being a great sports bettor is getting the best of the number. How do you do that? You have the best information. So if there were folks that were privy to being inside Tom Brady's inner circle, they were probably moving small amounts for the last 7 to 10 days, thinking that this could be a distinct possibility. But that's the luxury books have about booking futures markets, where there's 32 runners in the National Football League. You have high hold. You can take that wait and see approach. There's no reason to extend odds on Tampa well beyond that 50 or 75 range, thinking that they're going to go through a big time change under center. You take the slow and steady methodology. You don't take on undue liability. And for those folks that had the foresight to see this coming or just had a quick trigger finger, you hope they were able to get down a few bucks to have themselves in a good spot going into the NFL draft, knowing what Tampa has in store in a division that I think really lacked a marquee quarterback other than with Tom Brady coming back.
Very quickly, do you expect Tampa to be the Super Bowl favorite when they repost the odds?
I do not expect them to be the Super Bowl favorite. I think on paper, when you look at Kansas City and Buffalo, those are two teams you still have to consider. But the one thing that is interesting and why you could see Tampa's odds a little bit shorter than what I would make their true odds is the NFC. The conference is significantly more wide open, especially with the removal of Russell Wilson. We know the balance of power shifts squarely to the AFC this season, so you could see odds makers go, you know what, we don't want to extend that courtesy. We're going to make Tampa the shortest team on the board, and to be quite honest, I wouldn't fault them for doing so.
There you go. Well,
do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.